Okay, so welcome officially to all of you. Really great to see you again in the Zoom room. Let's have a look at our daily quote, dive into that, some teaching around that, and then I think we'll look at the invitation tonight. That would be really nice to do, actually. So we didn't have time in the early sessions, so let me just share my screen with you. Let's make it a bit bigger. Okay. So let me know when you can see the screen. All good? Can you see that? Great. So this is the headline quote from a lady called Vimala Thakkar. Perhaps Archie, if you can read that for us, that would be great.
Unless you put the house of your life, physical and verbal structures in order, the urge for exploration of that which is beyond time and space will remain only a wish in the mind. If there is disorder in simple things of life like diet, sleep, exercise, breathing, trying to build a structure of exploration will be like building a house in the sand.
And that refers to the parable of Jesus' famous parable of the person who built his rock on the house on the rock and the house on the sand. They've got images there showing you that. So it's that parable which comes from the Gospel of Matthew. Maybe someone else read that. Patricia, can you read the parable just so we understand what she's referring to? And then we can get into more of what she said in the quote. You're muted, Patricia.
Let's try
There you
again.
go. Okay.
Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on a rock. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat on that house, but it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them, will be like a foolish man who built his house on a cave, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it.
Yeah. So that's symbolic. What he's talking about is the adversities of life, the winds, the rain, the floods, the inevitable adversities, the challenges of life, which come. And he's saying if you haven't built your house correctly on the rock of something true, what is true, what is who you really are, truth, love, joy, then your house falls apart. The external world of adversities then destroys the house on the sand, because those external adversities they're not ultimately real. But if you think they're real, then they can become very distressing, very disturbing. And Hudson, yeah, that's quite relevant to what we discussed in your situation. So it's about letting go of the attachment to those things which are ultimately illusions. They don't really mean anything or exist, but our mind's attached to them. And then we suffer when things don't go well. That's what this parable is really saying. So Vimala Thakar is an Indian social activist and spiritual teacher, cleverly relates this parable to the fundamental structures of human life, such as breathing, diet, exercise, and sleep, that are the foundation of your exploration of the truth and spiritual journey towards the full realization of this truth. If you don't have these basics in place, it's very difficult to go beyond time and space. Trying to build a structure of exploration will be like building a house in the sand, because you don't have a strong foundation. So if your diet's all over the place, you're not sleeping well, you're not exercising, there's no awareness of the breath, how are you going to start touching and tasting something transcendent? You haven't even got the basics right. And so it's a call to really start putting those structures in place, and that's part of what we look at in the Art of Letting Go, that are going to support your exploration of something beyond time and space. And once you've got the basics covered, then it becomes much easier to start exploring, journeying, going deeper in your mind. But if you can't do any of this and your life's all over the place, then generally forget it. You're not gonna consciously. You might have some kind of epiphany just because you've suffered so much. But what we're talking about here is the way of mastery, of saying, I'm going to consciously practice various processes, practices, techniques to help me to awaken, to facilitate that. So just to go into the second lesson of the Life Full of Breathwork course, which is part of this course, I explain why proper breathing is so important and the origins of it. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'll go through it again for the benefit, particularly of Hudson. So the ancient classical languages like Greek, Latin, Sanskrit, modern German, use the same word for breath, life, soul, and spirit. These words, the word is interchangeable and just describes all of those things. Because all the ancient cultures knew that the breath was a symbol of this essence, this intangible, formless essence. The breath has no form. Breath, life, soul, spirit, pneuma in Greek, spiritus in Latin, Atman in Sanskrit, Atmen in German. And breathing was also extremely important to the ancient Hawaiians. They believed that they could bring in positive energy, expel negative energy with the breath, which is what you're doing whenever you practice a breath break in all the guided meditations you do. In fact, it was such a significant part of their lives that Ha, the Hawaiian word for breath, begins the name of both the island and its people. So just bear that in mind. The breath is a direct pointer. It's a great signpost into that. And we did a meditation yesterday, which hopefully pointed you into that. And the moment you start experiencing the power of the breath, you go, oh, okay, I get it. It's pointing me into this formless awareness that the breath symbolizes, which is why breath and spirit have been, so intertwined. So if we look at breathing, maybe let's just do a quick exercise, so we can demonstrate this. Shallow mouth breathing tends to activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response mode that stimulates the production of stress-producing hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. I don't really have to know what they're called. The fact is, you feel stressed. That's what the fight or flight response mode does. They cause you to feel anxious and disturbed because they're designed to get you into an optimal state for fighting or running away to save your life. They also suppress the proper functioning of systems that are not essential to your immediate survival. This is the downside. So it mobilizes a lot of energy for fighting or fleeing, but if there's no real fight or flight required, then you have the suppressive mechanism going on, suppressing your digestive, your reproductive, your immune system, which are all important systems, but those get suppressed because the body's trying to mobilize additional energy for your upcoming fight or flight, except there is no fight or flight. So the problem with triggering a stress response is that it's not helpful in dealing with 99.99% of the situations we face in life, which are not life-threatening. Fighting or running away from people is never the best way to deal with apparent conflict. And so these inappropriate reactions to apparently external threats only create more stress for you and everyone else involved, while also damaging your health and well-being. So as a little taste of this, let's do 20 breaths through your mouth, and just notice how you feel. I think we might have done this exercise already, but Hudson certainly hasn't. So just give yourself a minute and close your eyes, breathe in and out through your mouth. Quite short, sharp breaths, shallow breaths into the chest. So you're kind of panting as though you were running a race, running quite hard, and you're panting, except you're going nowhere. And as you do that, just notice what you're feeling. Notice how your system feels, your body, your mind, your energy, and after 20 breaths, you should be feeling something. So once you've done your 20 breaths, then stop. So anyone like to share? How was that? Was it relaxing? Did it feel a bit difficult, a bit stressful?
Yeah, not pleasant.
Not pleasant, yeah. And that's pretty much the universal experience of anyone who does it. It's like, okay, this creates a feeling of dis-ease in the mind. It's not comfortable, it's not pleasant, because mouth breathing activates the sympathetic nervous system, which then activates the fight or flight response, and those stress hormones start activating. You start feeling it straight away. Okay, you'll normalize now and just breathe through your nose and be fine. But if you do that for extended period of time, you can imagine how stressed you could be. In fact, have you ever seen a panic attack? People breathe through their mouth. Have you noticed? It's like because if you there's a great movie called As It Is in Heaven. Don't know if you've seen it. It's Swedish subtitled, Swedish but subtitled in English. And in it, the one of the characters, the town pastor, has a panic attack, and it's so interesting because he starts breathing through his mouth. So it's like, and so panic, mouth breathing go together, whereas deep diaphragmatic breathing, which I'll show you now, is a wonderful tool for cultivating self-awareness, and is also going to improve your mental and physical health and well-being. So it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which activates the relaxation response, and that helps you to relax. It helps to regulate your thoughts, your emotions, reactivates the systems that got shut down, like your digestive system and reproductive system and immune system. And everything works a lot better when you relax and you're flowing. But rather than just explaining that to you, let's experience it. So I want you to just sit with your feet shoulder width apart, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and just breathe in and out through your nose. It's a nice, deep, rhythmical, flowing breath. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. Notice how the stomach rises as you breathe in. The stomach falls as you exhale. And it's just kind of happening. There's no effort in this. You're just watching the breath, observing how this happens to you, through you, and for you. And as you breathe, notice how you're thinking, how you're feeling in your body, in your mind, your energy. Is there a sense of calm, relaxation arising? And just keep let's done that. So just getting a sense of relaxation, calm, going deeper and deeper into that. With each breath, any thoughts arise, just watch those thoughts, let them go by focusing all your attention on the breath. Just refocus on stomach rising, chest rising, particularly the subtle flow of air into your nostrils. It's really helpful. Focus on that. It's a small point of focus in your nose, sharpens the focus of the mind, gives you this acute clarity and mental focus, which, why this was recommended by the Buddha. It's called Anapana, breath watching. Observe the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of your nostrils, and noticing how that subtle flow of air touches the area between your nose and your upper lip. On the way in, it inhales. Very, very subtle, but notice it. As you exhale, notice that as well. And so just keep breathing for another minute or two, in and out through your nose, as deep, slow, rhythmical breaths, and focusing on the sensations of the breath in your nose and between your nose and your upper lip. Exclusive focus on those areas, and just sinking inwards, sinking deeper and deeper. And each breath into this very calm, peaceful, relaxing meditation. There's nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Really relax, be still. Just observe the breath for a couple of minutes of stillness, quietness. Surrender into that stillness and quietness. Let the breath just keep breathing you. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just breathe, relax, and be still. When thoughts come in, just turn your attention to the breath. That nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths. Just be quiet for a minute or two. Don't say anything, just observe the breath and find a stillness and a calmness in your own mind. So just gently coming back now, coming out. This meditation, same way as you went in with the breath. So on the count of one, noticing the breath, the stomach rising, the chest rising, subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Now just scan your mind, your inner state, subject to experience of you are. Notice any thoughts, emotions, any sensations going on there, particularly anything that feels at all negative, limiting, contracting, constricted in any way, shape, or form. Let it go with the breath. Exhale that out. The dark cloud or black smoke leaving you. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. Now on the count of two, notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Noticing what you're feeling with your hands touching. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth, a smell in your nose. As you breathe in, notice what you're hearing. In the surrounding environment. And just anchor the state in this nice, peaceful, calm, relaxed state. Notice it, acknowledge it. And by doing that, you anchor it into your mind, into your state. Notice how calm and peaceful you feel. Take the intention to stay for the rest of the evening. Carry it with you to bed and then on into your day tomorrow. So it is said and so it is done. And now on the count of three, open your eyes. So open your eyes, just look around. Notice how quiet, calm, peaceful, relaxed you feel. Everything's everything's okay in this state. There's nothing to really get bothered about, nothing to judge. Don't need to name or label or judge anything. Notice how quiet and calm and peaceful you feel. And that's just from, I don't know, 10 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing. It's not a lot, but you hopefully have experienced just how powerful it can be to change your state. So that is a foundational meditation practice, just watching the breath. It's the foundation of Buddhist meditation practice called Anapana or Anapanasati. For short Anapana for short Anapanasati is the long version. Just a simple practice of watching the breath and letting go of any thoughts by focusing on the breath. So simple, but not that easy. Did anyone have difficulty with that? Was the mind running away? Did you find lots of thoughts? Couldn't focus on the breath? Kept thinking about the past or the future? Or were you able to just pretty much relax, focus on the breath and really be in the present moment? That's what the breath brings you into. So yeah, anyone want to share their experience of that?
No, it was lovely, Jonathan. I found it quite easy, actually. So, yeah,
Good.
hardly any thoughts at all.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So just observing the breath flowing, relaxing. It's such a simple practice, but it's so profound. It takes you into these deep states of peace sort of almost immediately. So like, well, why don't we do this? Why doesn't everyone do it? It can just like deeply relax you in 5-10 minutes. It's just because we don't know, we haven't been taught. You certainly don't get this taught to you at school, university. Most parents don't teach it to you. So often we learn it later in life. We go, well, this is just amazingly helpful to be able to just sit quietly for a few minutes and just relax using the breath is enormously helpful. So even if you do 10 minutes, that was 10 minutes, 10 minutes twice a day, 20 minutes a day, will start to make some significant changes in your life, in your mental state, emotional state. You start shifting and changing your autonomic nervous system. I've done research on groups who've done practice structured meditation, breath watching kind of meditation over just half an hour a day, and they found some really profound differences mentally, physically, and in terms of their mindset. They became more loving, they became more connected to other people, and more compassionate, all in 8 weeks of just doing half an hour a day. So pretty amazingly profoundly helpful practice to do, and you can do that anytime. You don't need any. What I love about the breath is you don't need any props. You don't need anything else but you and your breath, and you can just sit quietly and do it anytime that you feel like it. So that means that you're totally empowered, because this very, very powerful transformational tool is literally right under your nose, and you can use it anytime. It's the most immediate way of changing your mindset, changing your state, just by doing some conscious breathing. Does that. So use it in your daily life, incorporate it in some way. Maybe it's a formal meditation practice. You do 10 minutes twice a day. Maybe you just take little breath breaks, and in week 2, I'll start sending you recordings to help you do that, where you just breathe for a few minutes and just start learning to relax and take all of that mind activity and that stress that goes with it down periodically in the day. And that's going to make a big difference. I actually did some research on workers, and they found that the workers who took frequent shorter breaks were more productive. Giving them like 9 minutes every hour was, or every 45 minutes, I think the research was more productive than giving them one long break. So do an hour, take 5 minutes, breathe, go back to your work, do another hour, take 5 minutes, breathe. is actually the most efficient way. It's going to be the most productive way of working, because you're just going to rest, recover, and then you go again. And I was a professional athlete. From my athletic training, that is how top athletes train. You can't be full on, always on. You can't be in a high performance phase all the time. You have to rest, and the quality of your rest then determines the quality of your performance. If you don't rest, then you're not going to be able to perform at the same level. So integrating this technique into your life, just doing it regularly through the day, that course will help you do that, because as we move into it, I create the structure to do it, and I give you the tools. You can just listen to a breath break, which will guide you through some breathing and the mind training lesson we'll get into next week, from A Course in Miracles. Helps you to do that. And if you can get into a daily practice of doing that several times a day in this next 6 weeks, that's going to be really profoundly helpful for you. So try and consciously start doing a little breath break, even if it's 5 minutes, several times a day. And especially if you're feeling stressed, something triggers you and you're feeling stressed, that's a really good time to do it. And take 5 minutes and just restore your mind to a peaceful, calm state. In that state, you're much more effective. You'll be able to take the appropriate action. Okay, so yeah, any questions about that or comments? Hudson, yeah, I don't know if you did that, but any questions or comments about that? Did it work for you?
Yeah, I did. Just taking a bit of a chill here. Yeah, just trying to go with it.
Good. Yeah, so you felt relaxed, and that's the simplest form of meditation. Just watch your breath.
Okay.
Nothing more to it, but it can be challenging because the mind gets going, but then you just return. When you notice that, you just return it to the breath and focus on the breathing. And it's such a simple but a very powerful practice. So, if you don't have a lot of time, even 5 minutes of that, 10 minutes of that, twice a day is going to really help you.
No, thank you.
See if you can get into that over the next 6 weeks. I give you recordings to help you do it. So if you want to listen to the breath watching meditation, there it is. It's in the email. It's in Telegram. So Hudson, you should be. Let's see. I was going to add you to Telegram, but it was a bit slow. Let me see if I can add you right now. And then you're in there, and I think the last 100 messages have shown. There we go. So
Thanks.
There you go. You're in. So you'll be able to see the last 3 days of material. You can catch up with it there, and I'll send you the last couple of emails, as well as add you to the mailing list for today. So you'll get tomorrow's email, which is day 3, directly, and then if you've read all that, you'll have caught up. Okay.
Sure.
So any comments, questions on any of that?
Can I just ask a question, Jonathan, about breathing in
Sure.
through your nose and then breathing out through your mouth? What are your thoughts on that?
Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth.
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing is that you breathe in through your nose, and to affect your state of mind most profoundly. It's how the inhale goes. The exhale you can do out through the nose or out through the mouth. Out the mouth when it's more of a kind of a releasing breath. You're saying, I'm letting go of something, breathe out through the mouth.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's accentuated with the mouth. If it's more subtle and you're just trying to relax, then I use a nasal breath.
Yeah.
But both will work, and you just experiment and see, what works for you in different meditations. So in the breathwork course, sometimes I'll say breathe out through the mouth. Sometimes I'll say breathe out through the nose. And it's context specific. It depends on what that meditation is trying to do. So that this, you notice in this one, it was just breathing through the nose. But then right at the end, I say, okay, so breathe out through the mouth to just let go of whatever it is that is still there. So you use the breath to help that practice of letting go appropriately. If it's something really deep and profound you're trying to let go of, often the mouth breath can be more like, okay, I'm letting this all out. It's a very like subtle, gentle, relaxing breath, I'd say, between the nose.
Yeah.
Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
And just experiment with it. Actually, it doesn't matter that much to the inner state, because the inhale breath is really important. No problem, Hudson. I see you got to go. So thanks for joining. That's fine. Hopefully catch you on Friday afternoon from 3 p.m. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I'll do everything I said, and then just sort out stuff on your side, and we'll probably connect at some point tomorrow. I'm traveling to Cape Town and then Joburg, and I've got a lot of traveling tomorrow, and then back to the UK.
Thanks.
But I'll have my phone with me so you can message.
Okay, perfect.
Cool.
Thanks,
okay.
man. Thanks, guys.
Speak soon.
Cheers.
Thanks. Bye for now. Okay, so how are we doing? About 10:30, 8:30 your time, actually. I think let's have a look at the invitation. So this is at the beginning of your page 3 and 4 of the course manual. I often do it in the introductory session, but there was a lot to cover there and we didn't get to it. But it's a lovely, lovely poem. So this was written by a lady called Araya Mountain Dreamer, who's American. After a particularly empty, meaningless experience at a dinner party. So she'd gone out and everyone was talking about what they're talking about at dinner parties. What am I doing, and where have I moved, and the new house I've got, a new job I've got, and new car I've bought, and so on and so on. And she just found it very, very sort of false and meaningless. And so she sat down at midnight and she got home. She just wrote this poem. And it was the days when the internet had just got started. So email was a new thing. You remember those days? When you got an email, you're like, oh, I'm really excited. I got an email. Cool. This is great. Because I got one email today. Fantastic. And so in those days, this email went viral because it was something meaningful, and it went out, and people started to circulate it, and it was one of the first sort of viral emails. And that's how it got known. And then she wrote a book and a number of books and became a spiritual teacher just based on this calling, really. She just had a feeling, and most people would just say, well, I'm just going to go to bed, but she obviously felt inspired to write her thoughts down. And this poem is the outcome. And it's a great invitation to us doing the course. So there's some really good stuff. So let's do that, and then maybe we'll call it a night. Invitation. Okay. So let's start off with paragraph 1. I think the way to do it is each of you read a stanza. Sorry, that's the correct term for a poem. Read a stanza. That's 3 lines, and then we'll discuss it and move on and switch it, and the other of you can read the next one. So do you want to kick it off, Archie, with
Okay.
It doesn't interest me.
Yeah, so it doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing.
Yeah, so again, from the conversations, what do people ask? They say, well, what do you do? What do you do for a living? And everyone says, well, I do this. I'm a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or an entrepreneur or whatever. And they're asking you, how are you doing? Right? How's it going? Are you climbing the ladder? Are you successful? And of course, if you buy into that, then you try and kind of big yourself up and go, oh, I'm doing really well, and so on. And so I guess she just saw all of that falsity really at the dinner party and went, I'm not interested in that. I want to know what you ache for.
Mm.
And if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing, there's something in your heart symbolizing your deeper part of your mind, which is your true self, your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it. And there's something there that longs to know itself, to awaken, more than what you do, just who am I, to awaken to who I am. So she's really pointing to that in the first stanza. Really nice intro to the poem and sets the tone for the rest of it. Patricia, if you can read the next stanza.
It does not interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive.
Again, just so pertinent. I don't really care what your age is, but what I want to know is if you'll take the risk of looking like a fool for love, for the love of God, for something transcendent that's calling you to this hero's journey. What she's talking about is the adventure of the hero's journey, the adventure of being alive, the adventure of awakening to who you really are, your dream of becoming something more significant than just human. And the world doesn't support this. Often people will look at you and go, "You're a fool," and you're not obeying the rules, and this is stupid, and what are you doing? And that's very common for anyone who's on a spiritual path to experience that. So she's just expressing that sentiment quite well and saying, I really want to know what's in your heart. Don't tell me all this illusion. So these first things are illusion. What you do for a living, how old you are. The next one is, what planets are squaring your moon, which is a little dig at astrology. But it's quite funny. It's like, so someone says, well, I'm Aries rising and Mercury's in fifth retrograde, and so this is what's now happening in my life. And she's kind of poking fun at that and saying, but is that really true and authentic? Instead, I want to know if you've touched the center of your own sorrow. If you've been through the trials of life, and you've had the disappointments and the pain and the sorrow, and if you've been opened by life's betrayals, or you've become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. So who are you really? When the chips are down, who are you really? When everything else is stripped away, and what you do for a living, and how old you are, and all these ego entrapments are stripped away. Who are you really, and how do you react when the chips are down? So she's asking for something more authentic, for a deeper level of revealing who you are in conversation. That doesn't typically happen in our society. Never, certainly not at most dinner parties. But it's a call. She's saying, I wish that this could happen, and I'm calling on anyone who's reading this poem to say, okay, yes, I'm up for that. So this is part of the call to adventure of the hero's journey. Okay, so any comments or questions on that or any of these so far? Let's go on to the next one. I want to know if you can sit with pain. Archie, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it.
So what do you make of that?
We so often want to fix people and not let family and friends go through pain. We always want to try and take it away or medicate them or do that, but to just sit with someone who's got pain and not judge it or fix it or move from it, I think that takes more courage.
Yeah, so it's facing the demon, it's facing whatever you need to face. and saying, okay, I'm just going to sit with this. I don't need to distract myself, medicate myself. I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to allow a process of healing to happen.
Yeah.
That's really what part of what forgiveness is. So it's saying,
Yeah.
okay, I'll face it. I'm not going to run away from this, and then gradually I'll let it go. That letting go doesn't always happen straight away. Sometimes in your moments of deepest emotional pain, it doesn't just go away straight away. It doesn't matter what you do. It's going to sit there for a while, and you kind of have to be patient with it and allow it to dissipate. But by feeling something fully and experiencing it, automatically there's a it can't last. That intensity can't last. It is going to dissipate. So it's almost like going through the dark. You get to the light, and that's inevitably happens. It's kind of a cathartic process, which is what she's talking about here.
Yeah, and also and sitting with it with honesty and authenticity as well.
Yeah. Without moving to hide it or fade it
Yeah.
or fix it. So we live in a culture that doesn't like pain. It doesn't like trauma. It says it shouldn't be happening. Okay, if you've got pain and trauma, you shouldn't be suffering. Okay, so let's fix it. And we've invented, many means to do that. Medication, maybe you distract yourself with another kind of substance, alcohol, drugs. Maybe you watch TV, go on the internet, do shopping, have sex, whatever it is, because you just can't face that pain. Instead of just saying, okay, well, I'll just be quiet and I'll sit with it and I'll breathe through this.
Yeah.
And just observe it. And in the observation of it, you start to realize, but this isn't really me. There's an emotion arising. There's a feeling. It might be a very strong feeling, maybe even overwhelming. But if you bring awareness to it, there's going to be an awareness that this isn't me because I have an awareness that there's something else. This isn't my only awareness. And that's how the forgiveness process starts. But sometimes you need to to go into this. So if I feel sad, I feel pain, I allow myself to cry rather than stopping it, because it helps you move through it. To say, okay, so this is arising. Don't stuff it down. Don't block it and repress it. Just allow it, observe it. So there's a part of your mind that's observing that as it's happening. So, on one level, you're sad, you're feeling that emotion, tears, but there's also a part of your mind that's able to just watch it and observe it. And then it dissipates. It doesn't stay forever. It dissipates. It might take only a few minutes. It might take longer. And then it dissipates. And by facing it, you've let it go. It might return again, but you've let it go in that moment, in that situation, and that's all you can do. You can't do it necessarily for all time. That same emotion might come up again in another situation, in which case then you let it go again. That's all you can do. Paradoxically, by facing it and being able to just sit with it and observe it, and then allow this process of letting go to start happening naturally. Okay, so I hope that's clear. It's quite a profound transformational principle she's talking about there. Okay, so next one is Patricia's, which is a lovely one. I want to know if you can be with joy.
I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own. If you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human.
Yeah.
That's-
Lovely.
Yeah.
You can be
I love the words in that.
with that joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's poetry, really.
Yes, it is.
Poetry, but
Yeah.
great poets move us with the words that they use, how they string them together, how they express them, and it touches something inside of you. If you can dance with wildness, so all of that limitation, conditioned programming we talked about yesterday just drops away, and there's a there's a wildness, there's a freedom.
Freedom.
Ecstasy is, the
Yeah.
following bliss, the camel call it. The ecstasy follow you to the tips of your fingers and toes, Satchitananda. That what she's talking about here is Ananda. It's the bliss of
Yeah.
living in a state of joy, of being connected to your source. That doesn't caution us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. All of the stuff the ego does. And I had a bit of that coming from my family today. So I encountered it. People are like, be
Yeah.
careful, be realistic. You've just got to, do what you've got to do. And it's well-meaning. They're not trying to hurt me, but it's very limited. It's really within it's advice within the limitations of being human. It's
Yeah.
not advice that's going to help you transcend being human, because of course they think that you are human. That's what they think, but it's not true. You're not human. It's very difficult to say to them, but I'm not really human, so this advice isn't appropriate. They look at me like, hey, you just lost the plot here.
John,
Hmm?
when Headley still lived with us, he was 97, and one day I was dishing up food and I had this rice, and I make a chicken. My grandchildren now call it Nan's chicken. I had this chicken on the plate, and I had gem squash, and I had Brussels sprouts, and my husband looked at me and said, my dad doesn't eat all of that. I said, he always eats whatever I put on his plate, because he was 97. He didn't care as long as he got food. But the best part about the story is, first, he ate all the food. And he was such a prim and proper person. If women came into the room, he'd stand up. He never sat at the table until the host sat down. He was one of those real colonial type men. But on this day, as he finished, he just quietly put his knife and fork on either side and picked up the plate and licked it. And I can't tell you the joy in watching this old man licking that plate, and that's it, without caution or being realistic. This prim and proper man who did every rule and book, by the book. But in that moment, he was just a kid. And it was, to me, one of the most joyous moments of watching this man who'd eaten all the Brussels sprouts, the gem squash and everything on his plate, but to feel his joy in that moment. And that's really what it's saying, to, remember not to just have that
Remember
absolute
these
ecstasy.
limitations.
Yeah, not remember all the rules and the regulations and everything.
Yeah.
It was one of my most joyous moments in life.
Well, thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
And she's just pointing us to, these ideas, and sometimes we've had these experiences, which then resonates, and you go, yeah, I know what she's talking about. And it's so rare, the ego teaches you to be realistic and careful and cautious and obey the rules, and it takes courage to go against that grain and say, no, I'm not going to do that, because that is not authentic. It's not who I really am, and it's never going to make me happy. So I have to stand for the truth. And if I don't make that decision, then who's going to make it? No one's going to do it for you. You have to say, yeah, this is how I choose to live my life. And if you don't like it, that's your choice, but I don't have to obey your rules. No, you don't have to obey what anyone else says. If it's not authentic, if it doesn't resonate with you. So there are certain practicalities in life. We need to have a level of income and earnings and money, and but all of that really is part of a construct. It's still part of the ego's construct. There's no doubt. So this is saying, just forget all that for a moment, and just, again, become a kid, and just let that feeling envelop you, and everything just drops away, and you forget the limitations of being human. If you can do that for a while, it's very liberating. If you could do that, all the time, you'd be an enlightened being, because enlightened beings operate in this way. it doesn't interest me. I'll read the next one. It doesn't interest me if the story telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. This is quite a difficult one. A lot of people are like, what does she mean? I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself. If you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul. If you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. Really, really interesting. It's probably the most profound stanza in the whole poem. So what do you make of that?
Being true to yourself, even if it means
Either of
that
you,
you may not be liked by others, or yeah. To me, it comes back to that authenticity.
Yeah.
And being true to yourself.
Yeah.
And not caring what the world thinks.
Yeah.
And you can bear the accusation of betrayal, not betray your own soul. You're doing what's actually authentic to you. But someone says, no, this is a betrayal. How dare you do that? That's not right. But you have to hold to what you.
Jonathan must have lost signal.
Yes. Yeah. Hopefully he'll be back.
I'm sure he will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. There he is. Yeah. It's one of my favorite poems.
It is. I've actually got that book from.
Oh, yes, me too.
Yeah.
I read it a long time ago already.
Yes, me too. Me too. Yeah, it's made me wonder about rereading it now, actually.
Yeah. It does, hey.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Like he's gone again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's give him a few minutes and maybe if he doesn't come back, we can just end.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling.
Is it cold where you are?
It is. Yeah. So I've got the wood burner going. I lit the fire earlier. Got a wood burning stove. Put that on. I've got all my fluffies on.
I see that. Yeah, there he is.
Internet trouble. Yeah. Let's go back to where we were. So this is saying you need to have the courage to stick to what you know is right, even if someone is having a go at you and saying, all of this is wrong and accuses you of betraying them and betraying what's true. You need to be faithless to the ego in order to be trustworthy to spirit, because the two will never ever agree. But it takes courage, it takes commitment. It's not an easy thing to do because the world, the ego's voice can shout very loudly through other people often. And so it's a great poem because she's highlighting. I faced a bit of this today, and okay, there it is again. And you've just got to see it for what it is, and hold to what you know is true and correct. People will judge you according to what they believe, but that's not the truth. That's just what they believe.
Yeah.
not ultimate reality or truth.
Mm.
And then, some people might say, well, who are you to know the truth? Well, you could say, well, who are you not to know the truth? Who was Jesus to know the truth? Who was the Buddha to know the truth? Who was anyone to know the truth? They were no more special than anyone else. They just chose to live their life according to the truth rather than illusion. And that's a choice we all can make.
Mm.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. I think it's Archie again. I want to know if you can see beauty.
Yeah. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the moon, yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Thoughts on that?
Mm. Yeah, I really like the beginning of that. If you can see beauty even when it is not pretty. So the difference between beauty and pretty. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and beauty's capitalized. So beauty
Yeah.
is in another dimension. It's the
Yeah.
beauty that underlies all of life, even when it's not pretty every day, even when
Yeah.
things go wrong. The world can be a very ugly place on the level of form, but you can still see the underlying beauty of it if you choose to.
Yeah.
And if you can source your life from its presence. So she's talking about letting go of the judgment of it as ugly and all the negativity around that, and sourcing your state of mind and your life from the presence of beauty that's within you. And you realize, well, the beauty is not outside of me, the beauty is within me.
Yeah.
And so if I choose to see beauty externally, then I'm recognizing it in myself. Again, a very profound transformational principle. So a brilliant poem, right? So you have to take your hands off.
Yeah.
Really brilliant. Obviously inspired. She was in an inspired state and it kind of downloaded and it went viral and created a whole career for her. I'm sure she didn't anticipate that, but then she wrote a book based on it and became a quite a well-known author and spiritual teacher. And I'm sure when she wrote the poem, that wasn't her intention. It was just I just feel inspired to write this, and then I'm going to send it out to a few friends on email to share it. And look at what happens, because it's authentic, because it comes from a deeper place. People are going to resonate with it and go, yeah, I love this poem. I resonate.
Yeah, I also like where she says, I want to know if you can live with failure, yours or mine, because we so often only want to remember the successes in life. We never want to remember the failures, and stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that those have been failures. It doesn't matter that we've made mistakes in life. The mistake really comes from our own judgment.
Yeah. And yes, I tried. You know what I mean? I'm in the game. I'm trying. I'm doing my thing, and I'm learning. I'm failing forward. There's this saying in entrepreneurial teaching. You fail forward. You fail until you succeed. So all of those failures weren't really failures from that perspective. They were part of the journey of success. But most people don't see it that way. They just say, oh, it's a failure, and you failed again, and you failed again, and why can't you just do it, and why can't you get your act together, and why is it? Because they form outcome based rather than process based. It's really about connecting with your source and your spirit and being authentic to that. And if it doesn't go well on the level of form, then that's your lesson and that's your test, and that's an essential part of the journey. No one awakens to who they really are without some difficulty.
Yeah.
So it's all perfect in its imperfection.
I like the acronym FAIL, where they say first attempt in learning as well.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
So it's interesting.
And many more. You fail again, you're like, okay, that's another lesson. It's another lesson learned. Every time I fail, it's another lesson learned, and I've learned something, and I've grown, and I've become more rounded, more complete, more whole.
Have you gone again, Jono?
Yeah, I think you've frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. Internet's problematic, but let's persevere. We'll get through it. Just a couple more to go. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you
It
came.
does not,
Yeah, you can read that.
it does not interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after a night of despair, of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and to do what needs to be done to feed the children.
Mm.
Yeah, so again, she's talking about difficulties. She's talking about some of the experiences in life that can really test us.
Mm.
And then you have the character and the courage to do what's required and what needs to be done,
Yeah.
even when it's difficult and when it's not glamorous or amazing. You're not now in the silver of the full moon shouting yes. It can feel pretty dark in those darkest hours. We've all been through it, but you dig deep and you do what needs to be done. She uses an analogy of feeding the children, but it can apply in whatever stage of life you're in. If your children have left home or you never had children, it's just an analogy to say, okay, there's other people who need you. Are you going to step in and and do what's required and do what love would do?
Yeah. Mm.
Despite the difficulties, and not crumble and not go, well, I'm just so tired and so grief stricken and so despairing that I can't function. So no, despite that, I'll get up, I'll pick myself up, and I'll do what needs to be done. And that's character.
Yeah.
That's what she's pointing us to and challenging us and saying, can you do this?
Mm.
And also, it's interesting, she says, to feed the children, because children are a constant reminder of what does need to be done, to be fed, to be schooled, to do all of those things. And as parents, sometimes we are overwhelmed by that. But it's interesting that she uses children. She doesn't say go to work, do to feed the children. It's like this is really reaching deep down inside of you. But at the same time, I see it as also the child within you. Can you reach down and feed that child within you when you are going through despair, and when you the course calls you to do all of that? It actually does call you to do all of that.
To feed the children
Regardless
of
of
God. Maybe the children of
yeah,
just the children of God. Maybe she didn't mean
exactly.
it that way, but you could interpret it that way if you wanted to. We're all children of God, so to feed the children, and we feed the children not just with food, but with spiritual sustenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And love and support
So
and
no,
all of
that's a
those.
really interesting interpretation. I haven't thought of that one before.
Mm.
But that's what great poetry and literature does. It points us into deeper parts of ourselves and understandings we just didn't have before. Just with a few words. It's amazing
Yeah.
how it works. Okay, and then It doesn't, I'll read
Your
this
turn,
next one. It
Jordan.
doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. Yeah. Doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. A great line, one of possibly my favorites in the whole poem. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. So what's the fire that she's talking about? This is the fire of adversity, of difficulty,
Yeah.
but
Very
fire
deep.
symbolically in all the traditions is purification, right? It purifies, it burns away all the impurities, and what's left then is the pure self, like the phoenix, the metaphor of the phoenix rising from the ashes. So she's saying, will you do that? Will you stand in the center of the fire when things get really tough and not shrink back and face these challenges with courage and with the commitment and the faith of your spirit, to know that inner awareness, that inner fire, if you like, because spirit's been called fire, will see you through and ultimately will burn away all of the stuff that's false, all of the impurities, and you emerge from that fire as a purified higher self. And that really, what she's referring to here is the essence of alchemy, which is another spiritual path, where the lead gets turned into gold through fire. And that was a metaphor for the spiritual transformation process of burning up the ego in the fire of consciousness and the spiritual practices the alchemists would undertake to reveal the gold that is within them. There was, well, we don't know, maybe they did, but really the point was metaphoric. It was symbolic, that you could turn the lead inside of your own mind of the ego into the gold of your true self, through the fire. And the fire then is the spirit, and the spiritual practices are like saying, I'm going into the fire and I'm not going to shrink back, and I'm allow all of this to be burnt away from you. I guess that's what you're doing with this course, saying, okay, I'm not going to shrink back. Let's go for it. I'm all in. Stand in the center of the fire with me as your guide and your teacher, and don't shrink back from that. And it might get difficult and challenging, but that's what you signed up for. That's what's needed. So that's, she's really challenging us and saying, are you up for it? Will you do this?
Yeah.
Great poem. Really, as you said, perfect title, The Invitation. It's an invitation to step in to something greater, more meaningful, more significant than perhaps you've ever done before. Okay, so just a couple more to go. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you've studied. So I think is it Archie again? You read that.
Yeah, Archie.
Yeah, it doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away.
Again, pointing fingers at, poking fun at the studies, or where did you study? Or, I went to Harvard, and I went to a private school or public schools, you call them in the UK, and I went to a fancy university, and I got a top qualification. And so many people think that is, what's going to make it in life. That's success. And she's just saying, I'm not interested. It doesn't mean anything. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away, when everything is stripped away. Just as, interesting, Hudson shared that experience earlier. When, you are homeless and everything's stripped away, then who are you?
Yeah.
And then you discover, then you learn. What sustains you from the inside when all else falls away? Okay. Do you have the courage, the commitment to stand up and do what and go through this process of being stripped away and stripped down, and then come out the other side as the authentic self that you are. And it's not an easy process. It's a very difficult process. The ego doesn't like it at all. It can feel like death. But this is why they say in all traditions, it's the ego has to die in order for you to be reborn in spirit. And it usually happens through difficulty and adversity and pain. And then you come through that and you realize there's something deeper and higher in you that sustains you. But you wouldn't have known that if you hadn't gone through the trials. That's the whole point. You wouldn't have been forced to go into yourself and find that if you hadn't had difficulty in your life. And that's the value of obstacles and difficulties and challenges. So they are an essential part of the process of awakening. They're perfect to me in perfection. So why would you deny them? Why would you say this shouldn't be happening when it's absolutely essential to your awakening?
Yeah.
That's kind of what she's communicating here, which is in alignment with what the Course is teaching, Course in Miracles, and all the great teachings. You know, they all. This is part of the perennial philosophy. You know, this poem fits into that perennial philosophy. Whatever philosophy or teaching you go with, you know, if it's the truth, it's going to resonate with us, and you will find a resonance and a synergy in whatever path you're on. And then what I like about it as well, it's non-denominational. You know, a poem could appeal to anyone. Doesn't matter what your belief system or your spiritual path is. If you're open to awakening, this poem can really hit home and invite you to step into that, which is obviously was her intention when she wrote it and shared it. Okay, and then Patricia, last one. If you can read that to close it out.
I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments.
Yeah, great closing line, really. It's the courage to be alone. Osho talks about, you know, do you have the courage to be alone? And just sit and be and not have to be with other people and not have to distract yourself with you know, endless outer distractions that the world tempts you with. And when you're in alone and you're in the empty moments, are you in your own skin being with that? And some people really aren't. They don't want to be alone. And they don't want to be in empty moments. So they fill their lives with busyness and distraction. Because those empty moments are terrifying for the ego. In the empty moments, you know, they have to face their pain, they have to face their difficulties, they have to face their darkness, and they want to do that. So they keep the empty moments covered over with endless activity designed to prevent them from awakening. So what an amazing poem. You know, I chose it because it's
brilliant.
It's an amazing poem that invites us to step into something deeper, higher, more significant, more meaningful, which is exactly what this course is. So you know, it's appropriate at the beginning of it to say, read the poem and make the commitments that she's asking. She's calling you to an adventure, to the adventure of discovering yourself and saying, are you up for it? Or are you just going to do the normal thing? And you know, the contrast between the spirit and the ego is very clear in this. And she's saying, it doesn't interest me where you live or how much money you have. That's the ego. And then spirit is saying, I want to know, you know, the truth about you. I want to know what's deeper and more meaningful. And tell me about that, because you know that's all that's really interesting. If you had conversations that were only that deep, meaningful, you know, heart-to-heart conversations, you know, life's very different. The shallow conversations don't really do it for you. Which is obviously what she felt when she felt inspired to write it. Okay, so any other thoughts or comments, questions on this?
Jonathan, thank you.
Yeah, no, that was great. Yeah.
I think we
Yeah,
both
it's something
have
you can
the
dip into.
books.
You might want to read it again. You know, it's there at the beginning of your course manual, pages 3 and 4. I find it quite inspiring. I haven't read it for a year, but every year I read it and it's like, yeah, it still inspires me. And actually today very pertinent because some of the things she talked about happened to me. And it just makes you realize, okay, well, you know, you need to stay strong in your truth, and don't let these things affect you and pull you down into the limit and the scarcity program of the ego, because it's just not true, and it's never going to work, and it's never going to make you happy. So you've got to stand strong and say no to that. And, you know, people won't like that necessarily, but I just, you know, you have to be a bit hard nosed and say, well, tough, you don't like it. Like, I'm not gonna live my life and pander to the ego. You know, I'm gonna do what I feel called to do, what I feel inspired to do, and see it through. You know, if I have a divine purpose and mission, this isn't a luxury. This is a necessity. I have to follow that. It's not optional. I have to follow that, and other people may not understand that, but why would they understand? It's not their calling. It's not their mission. It's not their purpose. If they had their own authentic, then they would understand. But if you don't, then it just seems like, oh, well, this is an indulgence, and you know, you need to toe the line, and you need to do to follow the, you know, the norm, and so on and so on. And that, you know, that's not the song of your soul. That's not what you really came here to do. But you know, it takes a lot of courage to walk that path. It's a road less traveled. It's not an easy. I know, because I've walked it, you know, my whole life, and usually against a lot of opposition. It's not easy at all. But then that's your test. See, that's making you stronger in your faith and your commitment to spirit, because you've got the opposition of the ego. It's strengthening you, and so it's all perfect in its imperfection as part of your awakening. If you didn't have the resistance of, okay, there's the ego strongly trying to control you, suppress you, deny this, you know, this divine spirit and the calling, then you wouldn't have a lesson to learn. You're really just confronting your own ego, you know, all the time. You know, other people just are the projections of your own ego mind that are coming back at you to now test you. And if you see it that way, then it's very helpful. You don't attack them and get angry and feel like it's personal. You just see it as, well, this is just another lesson. You know, it's just the projection of my own mind, my own ego mind, showing me the ego and helping me to, again, choose the spirit and make another choice. So forgiveness really runs through this. Forgiveness, or letting go, as we call it, runs through this whole poem. Everything she's talking about is really about, you know, letting go of the false and embracing the true instead, which is all forgiveness is. So I hope that's inspired you. Read it again. If you need to, read it as often as you like, and hopefully it inspires you to really dig deep and, you know, dive deep and swim far, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, and come back with an advanced experience of who you are through this process that you're going to undertake in the next 6 weeks. All right. It is 11:15 now. I probably have to get up at 5, so and I still have to get out an email and text message, so I probably need to go. But thank you. Really, really nice session. I enjoyed that.
Thank you, Jono.
Yeah,
Shorter
thank you,
than yesterday.
Jonathan.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, no, that's
And yeah, keep practicing over the next couple of days. I will see you on Friday.
Yeah.
Friday
Perfect.
afternoon, 1
Thank
p.m.
you.
UK. What did we say? Yeah, 1 p.m. 1 p.m.
Yeah.
UK time, 3 p.m. SA time. Join there. In the
Okay.
meantime, you know, use the extra time to some of you are practicing, reading, catching up, and just start getting into the practices of the course, so that it starts to become your kind of default routine.
Yeah.
In the day.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Jono.
see you on the other side. I'll see you when I'm back.
Yeah, thank you. Safe
Good
travel.
night, Archie.
Yeah,
Good night,
good night.
Jono.
Yeah.
Safe travels.
Yeah.
Thank
Go
you.
well. Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thanks, Archie. Bye for
Yeah,
now.
thanks, Jonathan. Good night. Bye. Yeah,
Good
have a
night.
good journey home.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
See you soon. See you back.